Transfer stories and training ground bust-ups. This must be a Chelsea news video. Hey, what's going on, sweet friends? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're all doing well today. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, the daily series here where I go across football news media, see what's being said about the Blues, give you my opinion on said stories, but more importantly, of course, asking for yours. Two things I want to talk about today. One being the training ground bust up. Are cracks starting to show in Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea? Should we be concerned? And also Gabriel Menino, I believe that's how you pronounce it, reportedly already a Chelsea player as a new signing, but perhaps not that simple. Do consider subscribing to this channel if you're new and you want daily updates on Chelsea news, and you can be the first to hear it by clicking that bell notifications icon. And if you enjoy what I do, you can let me know and show me by dropping a like on the video. Alright then, let's get into the first story of today's video and talk about this training ground fight. That's right, it happened between Kepa Arrizabalaga and Antonio Rudiger, two players that weren't actually involved in the 5-2 loss at home against West Brom. In fact, I can't confirm or deny this part of the reports, but there were some suggestions that their arguments or displeasures might have started on the bench at Stamford Bridge in their game, but that may well be a rumour. Like I said, I'm not so sure. But our story comes today from the training ground the following day, which was yesterday. At time of recording, it's Easter Monday. Kepa Arrizabalaga and Antonio Rudiger had some handbags on the training pitch, the first we've seen of any sort under Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea, and Antonio Rudiger was sent home early or dismissed from training early. I'm going to cite for you now the article from The Athletic written by Simon Johnson to give you the inside knowledge of what happened. As first reported by The Telegraph, during a training session on Easter Sunday, Kepa and Rudiger were involved in a heated argument. It was sparked during a game after Rudiger went in with a late challenge on Kepa. The pair got into a pushing match. The German manager sent compatriot Rudiger to the dressing room 5 minutes early. Seems pretty standard so far. A teammate comes in with a sliding challenge, you don't like it, you start pushing him, the gaffer gets angry. Kepa went on to complete the session. Rudiger later apologised to Kepa. Tuchel himself is thought to be confident there will be no long-term issues. Neither player had featured during Saturday's game. On Saturday, they were thought to have heated post-match conversations following the shock defeat. Yeah, so there you go. Not necessarily on the bench at Stamford Bridge, but afterwards, heated conversations. Obviously, all the team will be upset after such a radical defeat to a relegation team West Brom, and even if you're not featuring in that game, you'll probably be quite upset because you're part of Chelsea Football Club and you want to be in the top 4 and you want to be playing Champions League next season, etc. Interesting to hear it was Kepa and Rudiger that started this. Anyway, let's read on and hear what Thomas Tuchel had to say about all this. Quote, "We cannot after 14 games lose our heads and cannot take away the trust in the players. It was a moment to be calm and honest in the dressing room, and it will be a hard afternoon and evening for everybody. We have to accept the loss together, and it is important to deal with it together, and I am part of it. Nothing will change. There is no rescheduled group day off, or for individual players who have travelled a lot, nothing will change." It is a very testing moment for Thomas Tuchel. How is he going to respond for this? Actually, it was a testing moment at Chelsea when they went 2-1 down at half-time with 10 men at West Brom. The first real test for Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. Now, I don't say that like they haven't faced good teams, they have, but the first test of real adversity in game. And they failed that test miserably to a tune of 5 goals against West Brom at home. So now comes another test, friends. How are they going to deal with this adversity off the pitch? You know, players fighting, getting upset. And understandably, I don't really have a problem with this, by the way. I've had problems with Rudiger before in terms of maybe him stirring things up off the pitch. But we have such a soft team, Chelsea Football Club, that you need a little bit of fight. Look at Chelsea's golden generation with the big fiery characters, you know, like Ballack and John Terry and stuff. They'll be scrapping all the time or angry at each other, but they were great together. So maybe a little bit of like, you know, heated atmosphere could help, but maybe not. It's going to be a very, very testing time, and we're going to see how Chelsea navigate this period. Do they go through the Champions League, or do they, swipe Porto aside? Do they have a poor performance against them? Do they get right back on the horse in the Premier League afterwards? We'll have to find out, and of course, I'll be reacting and reporting on everything that happens with Chelsea Football Club here on Football Therapy, so you want to keep it locked. Anyway, let's move on to the next story of today's video, and that's a transfer link to a Brazilian midfielder. Right then, out of nowhere, a reporter saying Chelsea have already signed a player, that it's done. This is classic Chelsea transfer rumours, silly season stuff. Will be heavily linked to a player that we really do want to buy, like, you know, Kai Havertz style, Timo Werner. Well, Timo Werner came a little bit left field, but you know, maybe like Hakim Ziyech, etc. Ben Chilwell and Kai Havertz are probably two really good examples that we were looking at for a long time, and they were like the transfer's worst kept secrets. Maybe Erling Haaland will be the same because Chelsea really want him. Obviously, he'll be a very difficult acquisition, but it's a long-standing, obvious admiration. But every now and again, Chelsea will go bang, player out of nowhere that you didn't see. And that could have been the case, or could be the case, with Gabriel Menino, the Brazilian midfielder. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, but first, let's look at some context from this article. Just like to apologise at this point and realise that I have called him Gabriel Menino when, of course, his name is Gabriel Menino. Sorry about that. Now I'm going to read you this article from Court Offside. Brazilian sports reporter Paco Belmonte has claimed that Chelsea have already completed a deal to sign Gabriel Menino from Palmeiras. Menino is considered a potential starter in the midfield for the Brazilian national team in the future. The 20-year-old has drawn comparisons to Manchester City legend Yaya Toure as a result of the haste which he gets from one end of the field to the other. He's more N'Golo Kante than Jorginho or Mateo Kovacic, which is exactly what Chelsea need in the middle of the park. With Thomas Tuchel's options being strong in their own right, but difficult to piece together as a collective, it's not exactly clear whether Menino would be drafted straight into the Chelsea first-team squad or would go out on loan to further his development. But Paco Belmonte believes the deal has already been done. Yeah, so this sports journalist did tweet out, "It's sad, but true. Menino is a Chelsea player." Interesting, perhaps a reporter that you think would be close to the deal says, yes, my friends, it's done. A highly rated Brazilian midfielder is pretty much already a Chelsea player. But since then, notably accurate sports journalist or reporter Fabrizio Romano has come out and tweeted this, pretty much saying, look man, it's not done. There are many teams in for him and it's still very open. Perhaps he has agreed terms to Chelsea Football Club, which is the original report that he's agreed terms to join Chelsea Football Club. But what does that mean? Not much. It means in theory, yes, should a deal be struck, we could agree to this deal here. It's basically like agreeing a salary package and the terms of a deal, but it's nothing to do with the transfer a lot of the time. Of course, it's imperative for the transfer, but it doesn't mean the transfer's anywhere close. So we can speculate at this point and say, yes, maybe there has been conversations, and yes, maybe he has agreed terms with Chelsea, but no, like Fabrizio Romano said, the deal has not been done and it's far off, and there's options being assessed by perhaps the player and his agent. And maybe Chelsea Football Club still, just because they potentially offer terms. They might just be keeping the book open, saying, look, we don't definitely want you, but should we do, or should we want you, these are the terms what we could offer. Let's take a look at his player data for a second. Gabriel Vinicius Menino, 20 years old, 1.76 meters tall, he's Brazilian, he's a midfielder and he is right-footed, and he's currently under contract till December 31, 2024. A couple of years left on his deal. He can play in the central midfield, he can also play right midfield, and has also played at right back. Interesting, quite a mobile midfielder, can move around all over the gaff, versatility, but like I said, whenever you have these comparisons drawn like a Yaya Toure, it gives you positive vibes because he dominated the Premier League. But then again, ladies and gentlemen, we had the same comparisons drawn too to Miri Bakayoko, and we all knew how that ended. Now maybe things could have been different because there was probably a talented player in Bakayoko, but still, don't get too excited just yet. I'll keep you guys updated with how this story develops. It looks like it wouldn't be an expensive acquisition regardless, but it's interesting. Reports are already coming out that players already belong to Chelsea, so it's important I keep my ear to the ground and report it to you here on Football Therapy. So keep it locked, my friends. Drop a like if you've enjoyed this content, subscribe if you're new, enjoy the football, and I will see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.